When I asked Morris Lapidus who he thought were the great architects or of his contemporaries, Igor Polovitsky was the first name that would come out of his mouth.
Igor Polovitsky is a praised and studied architect of the MiMo style. A Russian immigrant like Lapidus, Polovitsky's great contribution lay in his ability to synthesize international design and adapt it for the area into what you call subtropical modernism.
He built this structure on Kane Concourse, which is a canopy which is part of the Kane Concourse pedestrian way. And it's got a very leaf-thin canopy structure that comes over the sidewalk.
And he also created some of the most unique urban experiences in Miami hotels, the Albion being one, Lincoln One being another. He did the Firestone Station on Alton Road. He did a fabulous selection of buildings. The Shelbourne Hotel was another one of his. He also did houses which were based on this idea of a bird cage, where there was a lot of screening so that people could sit outside inside of a screen meshed area so that you would get the sense of the tropical environment without the mosquitoes and without all the bugs.
And a lot of mid-century modern and a lot of MiMo architecture comes from Polovitsky's innovations.
Melvin Grossman was a protege of Lapidus, who after going out on his own created faithful MiMo buildings like the Seville, the Deauville, and the New York skyscraper-like structure of the Doral Beach Hotel.
Melvin Grossman is probably best known for the Deauville Radisson, which was finished in 1957 and is most famous for the Beatles appearing on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964. And Melvin Grossman really followed in Morris Lapidus's footsteps and took the international style of a square box and then exploding it and introducing all kinds of wild curves and geometric shapes to make the architecture more interesting than just a square box.
He created a formula, and that might be because he was an engineer. He had to find a formula. But his formula was really quite simple. It was to take a modernist block of modernist slab or a modernist block of hotel units and place it up above the street, and at the street create as fanciful a street front as you could, and the formula worked.
On the other hand, Florida native Norman Giller was designing what would become MiMo before Lapidus ever arrived in Miami Beach.
When he was designing in the 1950s here, he had a very large company of architects. It was the 10th largest in the United States. And Norman Giller's company was responsible for over 10,000 structures.
My dad brought his own background of being a native Floridian and a perspective of having been a World War II veteran to some of the work that he brought.
When we were doing it, we didn't consider that we were doing MiMo buildings. We were doing contemporary buildings, which is Miami Modern Contemporary.
Among his endless achievements were the Caroline Hotel and his personal favorite, the Diplomat, which was raised to make way for a new super resort. Respectfully, they kept the name for the new property. It would have been unimaginable not to. The Diplomat was quite a showpiece of space-age MiMo design.
There is a hyperbolic paraboloid canopy as you come up the driveway, and it's 50 feet from the tip of that to the base where the foundation is, and another 50 feet goes inside the lobby. It was very carefully designed, and as a result, we came out with a very spectacular one part of that building.
Concrete awnings like you've seen are hallmarks of MiMo architecture. Resort hotels aside, the endless strip of apartment buildings along Collins north of 46th Street offers up sensational examples. Concrete awnings, brise-soleils, eyebrows, and other ornamentation makes this stretch of boulevard a tour de force of mid-20th century modern buildings.